Coming up next on the Pod Wheels Network, you'll hear the Highway to Hope, the official podcast of the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund. This edition of the Highway to Hope will feature an interview with Charles Culverhouse, CEO and president of the company that produces Blue Def diesel exhaust fluid and peak coolants. Here's a preview of what Charles had to say about the vital role of the trucking industry and professional drivers.
If you think about the goods that are moved all over the country, whether you're talking about the food you're putting on your table or the packages that are being delivered to your front door, logistics services are what make it happen. And so for us, it's just been a phenomenal opportunity to work with the logistics companies nationally, as well as the OEs that manufacture the heavy-duty vehicles. As an organization, started talking about what could we do to really thank the drivers that are leaving their homes or on the road sometimes for long periods of time and have really continued to move goods across the country. And we started evaluating various organizations, and a couple of our good customers mentioned St. Christopher to us, and we started digging into it and really just liked what this organization is doing. If you think about it, you get drivers on the road. It's not just about helping the driver, but you've got to remember their families and the fact that they've got programs in place where they're helping with illness or injury, not only for the driver, but for their family, household living expenses, still have to pay the bills.
Welcome back to the Highway to Hope, the official podcast of the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund. Thanks for connecting with us again here on the Pod Wheels Network. The SCF Highway to Hope podcast is dedicated to placing a spotlight on the important work being done every week of the year by the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund. During the month of June, the Pod Wheels Network will be presenting 3 episodes of the SCF Highway to Hope podcast. As you heard in our preview, this first episode will feature our interview with Charles Culverhouse, CEO and president of Old World Industries. For those who may not know, OWI is the maker of Blue Def diesel exhaust fluid and peak coolants. SCF Director of Philanthropy and Development, Shannon Currier, serves as your host for the Highway to Hope. Shannon is joined on the podcast by Greg Thompson, the executive producer of the Pod Wheels Network. Before Shannon and Greg spoke to Charles through a Zoom audio connection for our feature interview, they took a few moments at the beginning of the podcast to look at what's happened since the last edition of the Highway to Hope podcast and the arrival of the COVID-19 national emergency. As you'll hear, Greg connected with Shannon through Zoom audio.
Hello again, everybody. Greg Thompson with the Pod Wheels Network. We're back on the SCF Highway to Hope podcast, joined once again by Shannon Currier from SCF. It's been a while since you and I have had a podcast out there. March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, was the last time that we put out the second episode of the SCF Highway to Hope podcast, and we had a third one planned, but the world has really changed since March.
It has. There's been a lot of changes since we were able to meet in person and do our last podcast. We've had a little bit of a hiatus here, and I'm happy to be back talking with you again and updating our listeners on everything that's going on with SCF. Yeah, it's been a big change, and thank goodness for technology, right?
Absolutely. And think about it. We were sitting in the offices of Randall Riley in Tuscaloosa. We'd actually recorded a third podcast, which was going to be on the road to Matt's and at Matt's. Pod Wheels Network was going to be at Matt's. We were going to join you there, but COVID-19 changed a lot of the plans. As our listeners heard in the opening, in a moment, we're going to be speaking with Charles Culverhouse of Old World Industries, producers of Blue Def and peak coolants. That's a really good interview. But before we get to Charles, I wanted to talk to you about the fact that there is no Matt's this year. There is no GATS. You guys have really had to re-strategize what you're doing as an organization, right?
We have. That road to Matt's took a huge diversion. We had to take an alternate route. We were hoping that road would get back on track for GATS, and that is not going to happen either. We're really sad on both of those accounts because we love these shows. Not only do we get to make new corporate contacts and do some fundraising at our booth there, but we get to be face to face with all of our driver friends and meet new driver friends. And that part is really important to us as well. And so we are missing a lot of pieces when we don't get to go to these shows. But you have to do the right thing and the safest thing for everybody. And so we completely understand why these events had to be canceled, even though we're sad and we're going to miss everyone. gone and not get to see people till next year. We are regrouping and we are re-strategizing. We had to really just change our thought process. What are we going to do with our fundraising? For one, we do quite a bit of fundraising at both shows. GATS is a huge fundraiser for us because we typically have our auction out in the parking lot there. The last couple of years has raised $16,000 and $17,000. Both of those years, that amount raised was matched by Heartland Express. We're talking $35,000 just at that one show. You know, you sit back and you start thinking, okay, what do we do now? How do we continue to make those connections from a distance? How do we continue to fundraise from a distance? It's really taken some thought process on what we want to do, some strategy changes on how we want to approach people. But it's been as positive as it can be. We've had really good contacts. We've had really good success reaching out to our contacts. We have had people reaching out to us. So it's been less stressful than we had thought that it might be because we have such great partners in the industry.
Well, when you look at it, trucking is always resourceful, right? And trucking always responds. So you guys being resourceful, you got together, you re-strategized, you thought through some things. I know what's been happening in the country has been horrible. When you lose as many people as we have, and you see both the health devastation and the economic devastation with job loss, but when you think about it, this has really been a shining hour for trucking. I wanted to get your perspective on how the trucking industry has responded to this time of need.
It has been a devastating time. You know, it's heartbreaking to see the numbers, the lives lost, and people sick, businesses that are having to shut down that will not reopen on the other side of this. I'm seeing it in my local community as well. Some of our family-owned businesses that we all support just could not maintain for months on end being closed, and they have closed their doors for good. It's a sad time and it's hard to watch. But, you know, the only thing that we know to do, that I know to do, is try to find the positive, try to find the silver lining, try to find what it is we're supposed to learn out of these tough situations that we face. And so what we have learned is that there's a great respect all of a sudden for the trucking industry that really hasn't maybe been there before for the general public. We're always promoting truck drivers and how important they are and how valuable they are and how hardworking they are and how committed they are. We are always promoting that because we know that firsthand. It's been a blessing to see the general population just come in and begin to realize how important this industry is. It's been uplifting and encouraging to see the response that we are getting from the articles that we have been interviewed for, from trucker friends that have done articles on the road, and the response that they are getting as they share about their experience and share about St. Christopher as well. We have had so many comments from people that have made donations, individuals, and we are sharing them on our social media pages. But the testimonies, the comments, the quotes that people are giving as to why they're supporting truck drivers, it really is heartwarming because this is what we want people to think about the industry all the time. And we don't want people to forget on the other end of this, 6 months from now, a year from now, these men and women behind the wheel, they're just as important to us every day as they are during this pandemic.
Well, Shannon, as we restart the Highway to Hope podcast after the COVID-19 pause, we've got 3 podcasts for our listeners in June.
Definitely going to make up for lost time. We're going to hit you all with 3 podcasts during the month of June. So we're going to keep you busy.
And COVID-19 is definitely a big part of these podcasts, but we're also talking about moving forward and looking for that new normal in the world.
Absolutely. We've had a lot of changes, a lot of things to think about and consider, and how we're going to move forward from here. And I think the country is doing that as a whole, individuals and companies. It's just going to take some time, and we're doing it one day at a time, and we're doing it together.
Exactly. And Shannon, another feature of these podcasts in June is that we are going to be able to feature some of the sponsors with SCF.
Absolutely. We're always happy to share who our sponsors are, because we want people to know who's out there supporting us and who's out there supporting the truck drivers. And on today's podcast, we're going to be talking to Charles Culverhouse, the president and CEO of Old World Industries, who is the maker of Peak Antifreeze and Blue Def diesel exhaust fluid.
And one of the reasons that we've had Charles lead off what we're doing is that they are doing a social media campaign that's happening right now.
It's an awareness campaign as well as a donation campaign. They're using the hashtag #KeepOnTruckin. After this podcast, jump out there and find the Blue Def social media pages. They're going to donate $5 for every picture and photo shared using the hashtag #KeepOnTruckin, and $1 for every comment that's made on their post. So we want everybody to go out there, be a part of this. We want to see all of the support for our truck drivers, the men and women that are out there that are highway heroes during this crazy pandemic and everything that's going on in the world today.
And this campaign really captures the spirit of what's happening in the country right now. People are recognizing drivers, people are recognizing the value of the industry, and companies like OWI, makers of Blue Def and Peak Antifreeze, are really underscoring the support that drivers need out there these days. So let's take a listen to our interview with Charles Culverhouse.
We're excited to welcome Charles Culverhouse, CEO and President of Old World Industries. They are the makers of Peak Antifreeze and Blue Def diesel exhaust fluid. Welcome to the Highway to Hope podcast, Charles.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
I'll venture to say most of our listeners are very familiar with Blue Def and Peak products. We see those products in our stores across the country. I see them at fuel stops as we're traveling for vacations. Your products have kept heavy-duty engines running efficiently for over 4 decades. Tell us a little bit about how you all got started.
Back in '73, two gentlemen, good friends, Tom Hervis and Riaz Vorchek, decided to start a trading company and realized that they were pretty good marketers, got into the antifreeze business, and have been able to grow a successful company over the last 47 years. We're an American company based in the suburbs of Chicago and have continued to grow our portfolio of products through the years, starting with antifreeze, eventually expanding into lubricants, diesel exhaust fluid. As you mentioned, Blue Def diesel exhaust fluid is our product, and have continued to expand that portfolio into other products like blades, windshield wash. So basically, automotive aftermarket functional fluids and some of the key hard parts that are needed by the personal vehicle market as well as the heavy duty market.
Charles, what do you like about working with the trucking industry? Because you guys produce so much product out there that is used by the trucking industry. You've built a relationship. What do you like about it?
If you think about it, logistics services and the drivers, they are the backbone of the American supply chain. If you think about the goods that are moved all over the country, whether you're talking about the food you're putting on your table or the packages that are being delivered to your front door, logistics services are what make it happen. And so for us, it's just been a phenomenal opportunity to work with the logistics companies nationally, as well as the OEs that manufacture the heavy duty vehicles.
Charles, I'm sure that your company has been affected by COVID-19. When this pandemic hit, it probably changed some thought process or made you have to think about some things in relation to working with the trucking industry, especially how you might have to do some things differently. How did this COVID-19 change or affect your thought process and how you wanted to help your customers during this time?
Well, as you are aware, when this thing first started, there was a lot of unknowns, a lot of uncertainty out in the market. First and foremost, we wanted to make certain we were taking care of our team. We wanted to make certain our staff was protected as much as possible. We've got production facilities around the country, actually globally. We had to make certain that they were taken care of. The other piece of this was making certain that our own supply chain was prepared to handle what might be coming. We import a lot of inputs from other parts of the world, some finished products, but some bulk commodities, as well as inputs that go into our formulations here in this marketplace. And really, our supply chain within the organization had to gear up and prepare in order to make certain that our customers were supported through this, to make certain we had products, because as you know, logistics services were deemed essential at the beginning of this thing. I don't think that was ever a question, but we had to make certain that we had products readily available in order to keep those trucks on the road. So our team has really done a phenomenal job through this over the last 12 weeks, just making certain that we're able to continue to take care of all of our customers, whether it's on-road, off-road, retail, or commercial.
Charles, let's talk a little bit about SCF and what drew you to their mission. What made you want to support SCF?
As an organization, started talking about what could we do with a lot of stay-at-home orders in place nationally. What could we do to really thank the drivers that are leaving their homes or on the road sometimes for long periods of time and have really continued to move goods across the country. And we started evaluating various organizations, and a couple of our good customers mentioned St. Christopher to us, and we started digging into it and really just liked what this organization is doing. If you think about it, you get drivers on the road. It's not just about helping the driver, but you've got to remember their families and the fact that they've got programs in place where they're helping with illness or injury, not only for the driver, but for their family, household living expenses. You still have to pay the bills and really taking care of them. And we like their health and wellness programs.
Shannon, as part of the outreach that SCF has made, it's always great to make new relationships. What impressed you about Blue Def coming to you guys and saying, hey, we want to work together? Talk a little bit about that relationship that you're building.
Yes, we were very excited to hear from the Blue Def team. We had to change our way of thinking as well and started reaching out and doing interviews and trying to get the word out through different avenues that we were going to be in need of some additional support. We're happy that companies like Blue Def were doing the same thing. They're on their end saying, what can we do to help the people in our supply chain? What can we do to help these truck drivers? And so we're looking for people, they're looking for us, and we come together, we find each other. When we talked to the team there, I just thought it was a really creative and fun way to bring awareness to St. Christopher Fund as well as raise support. They wanted to do this Keep on Truckin' campaign, thanking the drivers, the men and women on the road that are behind these trucks, behind the wheel, delivering these products every day, which we're always about bringing awareness and respect and recognition to these drivers. We really liked that piece of the puzzle. And then, of course, we're always in need of donations. We've gotten great support through all of this COVID-19, and we're very appreciative of that. We always need additional support. We're never ready to just sit back and say, we're in a great place. We don't have to work so hard anymore. We work hard every day to make sure we have the support we need. It's just a blessing to come across a company like Blue Def who really wanted to pour back into the industry and back into these drivers. I was excited about this campaign. And Charles, I'd love for you to share, as the CEO and president, why you decided to take this direction for this campaign.
We had a lot of focus internally and a lot of ideas. The one that really stuck out for us was launching a campaign that would celebrate America's unsung heroes. These drivers and logistics companies, as I mentioned earlier, are truly the backbone of our economy. To celebrate them, we've been encouraging the public to send in posters, signs, videos, and pictures that are encouraging these drivers and that had a Keep on Trucking hashtag attached to it. So we started internally. My family, my kids actually put posters together, took photos, and I think sent the first photos in. And then we put this campaign together. And basically for every poster or sign, video or photograph that we get, we are making a donation to St. Christopher. So far, I think it's gone phenomenally well. We're just excited to be able to do something considering what these truck drivers have done for us.
I think it's been awesome to see this campaign really start from the top down with a company like Blue Def, Old World Industries as a whole. It's really been great to see that start from the top down. We don't always see that, but I think that's great. And I believe your family, you all were the first picture that we saw. We've been excited to be a part of this. And it's always fun to see the pictures. You see kids and you see people with their pets, and you just get to see people sending a message of their own just because they want to show support to the industry and to the men and women that they know are out there on the road. And so it's been a fun initiative. If you haven't been a part of it already, if you're listening, go out there, follow Blue Def on social media and post your comments, post your pictures, use the hashtag Keep On Truckin'.
As I mentioned, internally, when we came up with the idea for the campaign, you know how kids are. They think food just shows up on the table. We had a lot of fun at the house talking with the kids about how goods move around. And we talked about the drivers and how they are leaving their families to get out on the road and to make certain that, quite frankly, we're taken care of. They really got into it, to be honest with you, and worked on a number of posters and finally honed in on a couple that they felt were up to snuff. Then we started taking pictures, and they had just an outstanding time with it and really got to thinking about other people, what they're giving up, where, many of us have been home now for months on end due to COVID. These drivers are out on the road every day. And I think that it really opened their eyes to have a better understanding of truck drivers. They see them driving down the road every day, but it gave them a better understanding of the commitment that these men and women are making to the country, and especially going through a pandemic like we've been going through for the last few months.
Well, as I hear that, one of the things that comes to mind is that your dedication to trucking, your dedication to the men and women out there doesn't stop at your office door. It's something that you carry home with you, you discuss with your family, and look at the impact it's made. That's got to make you feel pretty good.
It does. And we have our own fleet, and we have drivers that have been out on the road this entire time, but we also work with third parties and have for many, many years, and know that those individuals are leaving their families every night. It's been a privilege for us to put this campaign together. As always, our company has stood for quality and making certain that we're able to put the products in the market that these men and women need to keep those assets on the road and keep on trucking.
And Shannon, when you think about it, what a great way to tie all of this together. At this moment, the industry is getting tremendous recognition for keeping the American economy moving, keeping the American way of life moving, keeping those shelves filled. And through Blue Def and Old World Industries, you've got a campaign that is celebrating that work. And it starts with kids making posters, and it's also benefiting SCF. So talk to us about that.
I think it's just been a great initiative and a great campaign. I think, like Charles said, it's really been a good reminder for just the general public, for all of us to remember how important our highway heroes are delivering the goods that we need. When we're not seeing things on the shelves, you saw some panic just around the country. And sometimes when things are in front of you every day, you forget how valuable they are and you forget how much we depend on them. And I think this has been a reminder of that. And I think this campaign has been a fun and positive reminder of that. It's been a fun way to engage families, to engage employees, just to engage the country as a whole, to cheer on these drivers that are out there still doing what they do through it all. They're out there facing sickness. They're out there facing a lot of things. It's just been a great reminder just to remember them and that they do need our support.
As I mentioned before, it's just been a great privilege for us to participate in this. We're hoping that the response is phenomenal and we're able to support St. Christopher and the efforts that they're making with the drivers. So it's something that as a company, we've really enjoyed bringing this together.
We've got a little bit longer for this campaign to run. If you haven't jumped in and put your picture out there with the Keep On Truckin' hashtag, be sure to use the Keep On Truckin' hashtag. Jump out there and do it. We want to see everybody's photos and videos and posters. We want to see all the smiles out there. So jump in and join this. Charles, are there any other plans or initiatives you all have for the rest of the year that you'd like to tell us about?
We're evaluating a number of things right now. This current campaign will last through June 15th. At the moment, we're still in discussions on other things that we can do.
All right, so y'all stay attentive to what's going on with Blue Def. They are going to have, I'm sure, some more awesome things like this through the year with their company. So follow them on social media. Thank you, Charles, for being on with us today. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to hearing more about what's going on with you all.
Thanks. It's been a privilege.
That's Charles Culverhouse here on the SCF Highway to Hope podcast. Shannon, very interesting conversation with Charles and really enjoyed spending some time with him.
We were excited to have Charles. It was a lot of fun to learn more about the company, just really to hear his passion as the top guy there. This campaign has started from the top down. That means a lot to the industry. That means a lot to us. That means a lot to his company and the employees that work alongside him. We're glad we got an opportunity to talk with Charles today.
And this campaign really captures the spirit of what's happening right now.
I think COVID-19 has made us really sit back and realize who is important in our everyday lives. And truck drivers definitely are important to all of us, not just during this time, but every day, day in and day out. Hopefully, it'll just be a reminder to all of us to not forget that and show respect to one another and show some positivity and encouragement to one another. It's a good time to talk to your family and your kids about the importance of this industry. Maybe it'll bring some new people into the industry.
Well, Shannon, you're exactly right about people taking a fresh look at opportunities in the trucking industry, because this industry needs drivers. This industry needs new people. Maybe the awareness that's out there will help in creating new people coming into this industry and talking about taking a fresh look at things. You guys had to do that as an organization, and that's where we're going to go with our next podcast as we talk to Joyce Brenny.
Yes, we're excited to talk to Joyce as our new president. She's got a lot to share about the direction of the organization for the remainder of this year and the goals that we're trying to reach. And she's just such a positive, uplifting person and leader. You don't want to miss the next podcast.
In fact, we can give people a taste of that. So here's a preview of Joyce Brenny on the next SCF Highway to Hope podcast.
Let's start at the beginning. Tell our listeners how you got started in the trucking industry.
It was kind of unintentional, but it was 1980. I graduated from high school and there basically were no jobs. Having grown up on a farm with brothers and driving tractors and trucks, it just kind of came natural. So that's how I started in the industry. It went from that to behind the scenes, dispatch, sales, and eventually became the general manager of a logistics company, a trucking company. And 1996, decided it was time to do it a different way and put people before profit. So Brenny Transportation was founded in 1996. Trucking is basically all I know and all I've done.
Joyce, what was your philosophy when you founded Brenny Transportation?
The whole premise behind wanting to do things my way is kind of what I said. I told my husband I just was really tired of the way people were treated, people being treated like numbers, specifically truck drivers not being valued to the level I felt they should be valued, because they are the front line. They are the reason there is a trucking industry. I either have to do things my way or I'm getting out of the industry altogether and going back to school and getting my master's degree. My husband Todd said, whatever you decide, I will support you. And little did he know what he was getting himself into.
We are not the only charity that you are involved with, but tell everybody how you did get involved with St. Christopher Fund.
At the time, it was 2012, I believe, is the year that I was introduced to St. Christopher's Fund. I was asked to be on the board in 2012. So it was right at the same time that I was the chair of the Minnesota Trucking Association. My heart was just overwhelmed with gratitude that St. Christopher's kind of found me. I found it. We found each other. And it was meant to be, because I just really feel the philosophy speaks to everything I was trying to do as far as charity and helping drivers with the medical side of things, psychological side, the health and well-being side of things. And it came together. So it was just meant to be. I've been on the board now for 8 years. When Donna Kennedy, the director, asked me to consider being the president, I really did have to think about it, because, again, anyone that knows me knows I don't do anything halfway. It's going to be full-hearted or it's not going to be at all. So I had to really think about if I had the capacity to take this on. My heart is there and love the St. Christopher's Trucker Relief Fund, and that's what I knew I needed to do. So yes, I said, accept the position of president.
That's our preview of the next SCF Highway to Hope podcast featuring Joyce Brenny, the president of SCF. And Shannon, how can folks get in touch with you guys through social media platforms, your website, and making donations?
You can find us on our website at truckersfund.org. You can make your donations there. There's a big red button up in the right top hand corner that says donate. Just click on that. It'll take you right to our donate page. You can also find us on all social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and of course you can find our podcast on our website. You can find our podcast on the Pod Wheels Network, and whatever your favorite podcast platform is, you can find us there as well.
And Shannon, it won't be long until we've got that second episode in June. We've got a third one in June. And July, we've got some big plans for that as well.
We have a lot coming at you guys over the next couple of months. So we know you've got time to listen, especially while you're out there driving, or maybe on the weekend, or maybe in the evening when you stop for your break and to get some rest. So we hope you'll listen in. We've got a lot of great things to share with you.
Once again, thank you for listening to Highway to Hope on the Pod Wheels Network. The Highway to Hope is the official podcast of the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund. Over its history, the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund has raised more than $3 million through the generous support of donations by corporate sponsors, groups, and countless individuals who are part of the trucking community at large. The St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund is a charity that helps over-the-road and regional truck drivers and their families when an illness or injury occurring within the last year has caused them to be out of work. SCF is also working to provide programs, including health and wellness initiatives, that are designed to benefit professional drivers and the trucking industry. If you are a professional truck driver or a family member of a driver who's in need of assistance following an illness or injury, please visit the organization's website at truckersfund.org. That's truckersfund.org. As the country continues to deal with the COVID-19 national emergency, the need for assistance for professional drivers and their families has never been greater. SCF is continually working to grow its donor base, and you might be able to help in the effort to pay it forward through SCF. If you are interested in becoming a supporter of the work done by SCF, please visit truckersfund.org and click on the donate button. Visit truckersfund.org and consider making a donation today. The Pod Wheels Network is proud to produce the Highway to Hope podcast in collaboration with the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund. We'll have more new episodes of the Highway to Hope coming your way in the near future. And we'd like to hear from you, our listeners. Please send your questions, your comments, and your ideas for what you would like to hear on the podcast to the following email address: info@podwheelsnetwork.com. That's info@podwheelsnetwork.com. The Pod Wheels Network would like to thank you for connecting with us today. You can stay up to date on the latest from the Pod Wheels Network by downloading the Pod Wheels app. It's available in the Apple Store and on Google Play. Just search Pod Wheels in either store and download the app. As we close out this edition of the Highway to Hope podcast, the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund and the Pod Wheels Network send our best for your continued safe travels out on the nation's highways. And as the country faces the COVID-19 national emergency, we would remind you that in addition to staying safe, you take the necessary steps to also stay healthy as you do the critical work of keeping the American supply chain moving.